Good evening, Facebook friends and YouTube followers. This is Rich again, back for your third and final video blog of the night on August 2nd, 2014, around 8:15 p.m. The sun's going down in Billerica, Massachusetts. It was a good day today. Some news to report. The New York Yankees beat the Boston Red Sox by a score of 6-4. Also, the Tampa Bay Lightning re-signed goaltender Ben Bishop to a 2-year contract extension. He's going to average close to $6 million a year. And it's official. First baseman / DH Jim Thome announced officially retired today as a member of the Cleveland Indians, signing a 1-day contract with the Indians and retiring from baseball. He's eligible for the Hall of Fame in 2018. He's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. He hit over 600 home runs, and his number 25 is probably going to be retired by the Indians soon. And my third and final video blog of the night is about the classic cartoon, The Super Friends. The Super Friends was a classic cartoon that had 5 of DC Comics' favorite superheroes: Superman, Batman, and Robin, Wonder Woman and Aquaman, and they fought crime and the bad guys in the cartoons. The Super Friends debuted on September 8th, 1973, and on ABC Saturday mornings the Super Friends were with like 3 junior Super Friends during the first season: Marvin, Wendy, and Wonder Dog. And the first season was 16 episodes, and it was an hour long. The Super Friends fought crime all over the place, and once in a while they were joined by the Flash on one episode, Plastic Man on another one, and the Green Owl on another one. It was a pretty good cartoon, but the ratings were low, and ABC canceled it after the first season, but the reruns were real popular 2 seasons later on ABC Saturday mornings, and they decided to bring back the Super Friends in 1977, but minus Marvin, Wendy, and Underdog, which they had. Why was Marvin, Wendy, and Wonder Dog, in the Super Friends? They had no dates. They were pointless, in my opinion. And I got 3 new junior Super Friends, the Wonder Twins, Zan and Jaina, and the Space Monkey Gleek, and they returned in September of 1977 on an all-new Super Friends hour, and it was divided into 4 segments. The first segment was basically all the Super Friends: Superman, Batman, Robin, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, and the Wonder Twins and Gleek. And then the second part was either like Batman or Aquaman and Batman, or Superman or Batman, and any 5 of the main Super Friends fighting the bad guys on the second segment. The third segment was the Wonder Twins and Gleek, and the fourth one was one of the 5 Super Friends and a special Super Friend guest star, which was Green Lantern, the Flash, and Hawkman, plus with 3 new Super Friends that were created for the Super Friends that went into DC Comics: Samurai, Apache Chief, and Black Vulcan. And these cartoons were a big hit on ABC, and everybody got to enjoy them. And in 1978, they had the Challenge of the Super Friends, which was the Super Friends, 11 of them: Batman, Robin, Wonder Woman, Superman, Aquaman, the Flash, Green Lantern, Hawkman, Samurai, Apache Chief, and Black Vulcan, facing off against the Legion of Doom, which was comprised of Lex Luthor, Brainiac, Sinestro, Cheetah, Solomon Grundy, Toyman, Mr. Freeze, Bizarro and a couple of others, and they fought crime on the. They fought in 16 episodes between good and evil, and it was on ABC as well. 16 episodes, and I think the next year was the world's greatest Super Friends, when the Super Friends were reduced to the 5 main ones, and also the Wonder Twins and Gleek returned with them on these episodes, which they only were 8 episodes produced in the 1979-1980 season. And then for the next three years, the Super Friends were would divide them into 3 segments again, with all the Super Friends in different segments of the show as well. And they kind of added characters like the Small Adam and a character called El Dorado for the Hispanic Super Friend. He wasn't in the DC Comics, and these ones lasted 3 years into 1983 when ABC canceled the Super Friends again. But then the reruns of the Super Friends was shown in syndication, all of them. I think maybe the first four seasons of the Super Friends was shown in syndication, and I think they chopped up the hour-long episodes for the first 2 of them and sliced them into half-hour ones they showed throughout the station. So popular, they brought it back in 1984, called the Super Friends, the Legendary Superpower Show, with a new Super Friend, Firestorm, and they fought the bad guys once again. And I think around this time they had Adam West play the voice of Batman, which was a big coup for the producers to get, and it was also on ABC as well, and it ran for 1 year. And then the last season of Super Friends, it was rebranded the Superpowers Force or something. It was rebranded. It was also on ABC, and they added another character, Cyborg, and he joined the Super Friends along with all the others. And these were great cartoons. All the Super Friends were very good and popular. The episodes were great. Kind of like the Wonder Twins the best, because they had Wonder Twin power activate in a form of this and a shape of that. That was real good. And I also liked one of my favorite episodes of all time of the Super Friends, when it was when they were fighting, when the parallel universes of the Super Friends and Super Friends Evil, and when there was a volcano, Superman and his evil counterpart switched places, which the Superman good was in the bad Super Friends, and the bad Super Friends Superman was in the good one. That was a pretty good one. And also there's many others. You could see all the Super Friends on DVD, and also I think the Cartoon Network used to rerun them back in the 90s, and it was on Boomerang and stuff like that. It was produced by Hanna-Barbera, and it's owned by Warner Brothers Television. And it was, one of the best cartoons of all time. I doubt we'll ever see a movie version of Super Friends, a live action version, because of the cost of getting all of these actors, all of the Super Friends with DC Comics and stuff like that. And also a couple of Super Friends were not in the DC Comics, so it would be tough, but you never know about that. It's one of the best childhood memories I had. Also, I think the Family Guy spoofed Super Friends a couple of years ago, which was pretty funny. Well, I'll be back later on tomorrow with at least 3 to 6 more video blogs. Good night, Facebook friends and YouTube followers. This is Rich, and don't forget, if you want to shout out, PM me, and I'll shout something out to you. Bye bye, friends and followers.